NFL season, like last year, as Lions fans, we looked around the whole league, right? And we knew we made the playoffs, won the division for the first time in eons, right? Remember, it was ridiculous. First time we won the division in some years, right? And it was teams that was clearly better than the Lions last year. Even us, we was like, oh yeah, if we could just beat. What's up, Brent? Thank you very, very much, Brent, for you one of our loyals. We thank you, man, for that. That's awesome. But you would always look around. Well, what I'm saying, I'm trying to make this point. Like we would look around and always say, well, man, if we could just be like that team, or like last year, the 49ers were clearly the better team. You know what I'm saying? And then now, Walt, you look around, every year has a juggernaut. We're the juggernaut. I think other teams are trying to catch us, man. I really do believe that. At first, I was saying, and I know all our listeners going to kill me because I had the Packers win in the last game only because I thought that it was our time to lose. I mean, man, winning 11 straight, 10 straight in the NFL these days is crazy. But now, we're the best of the best, man. I really believe that now. I mean, I've seen enough enough football, man, to see that. Yeah, other teams are flawed out there. The Lions got very few flaws. I mean, if you want to nitpick this team and say the defensive line is not Super Bowl caliber, but man, name me somebody else, because I watch football today and I don't see anybody. I'm gonna just tell you right now. I think that this whole Philly talk, you know me, we respect Philly. I respect Philly for who they are, where they came from. You know what I'm saying? Who they have, the talent. I mean, I was not naive to the fact that Philly's got a good team. I beg to differ. I think the Vikings can beat them. I don't know. I just think Minnesota. Credit to Lamar again. He said it from the beginning of the season. I didn't see it at all, but that Minnesota offense, man, I think they can hang with anybody. And I can clearly see the Lions playing the Vikings in the NFC Championship. If it went that way, I could see that happening right now. I mean, you can give your thoughts on it, but just the juggernaut team is my point. I think we're the juggernaut. I think that we're always looking around. This year, we're the juggernaut, and it's not no ifs, ands, buts about it. So we can talk about it some more going through this show. But
Yeah, it's still kind of tough for me to fully get behind Minnesota. And Minnesota's good, man. I don't think
yep,
the Vikings being a good football team is any shock to anybody. They tough every year. You and I discussed last year after guys got hurt, quarterbacks went down. It went to like three or four different starters at one point in time.
yeah,
You and I both discussed how they never give up. Like they're too stubborn for their own good sometimes. Like Minnesota doesn't know when they're supposed to, I guess, tank or whatever, so to speak.
yeah,
Because most bad organizations, because I don't think they're a bad organization. There's nothing bad about the Vikings as an organization.
no, no,
Bad
nope,
organizations, the first sign of difficulty, receiver gets hurt, D tackle gets hurt, quarterback gets hurt, they going in the tank.
yeah,
Who coming out next year? Let's tank for him. The Vikings kept on fighting, kept on fighting, kept on fighting. They threw Josh Dobbs out there
yeah,
last year. They threw Jared Hall out there.
yeah,
They threw did Nick Mullins get a turn
yeah.
too?
Nick Mullins too. Yep, he did.
Yeah. They kept fighting. I respect the hell out of the Vikings, man. For
Yep,
sure.
Kevin O'Connell, a head coach.
Yeah. I just think at the
Mhm.
end of the day, Darnold, the way some people still view our quarterback is the way I view Sam Darnold. I just think that he's going to be what hinders them ultimately over the long stretch. Green Bay, I think Green Bay's better. Even though Green Bay's so flaky, they still super talented, and they're one of those
Mhm.
teams I told you a couple days ago. If Green Bay went on the road and played at Philly, it wouldn't shock me if they beat Philly.
Yep,
Because Green
I
Bay can
agree.
score. They can
Totally
run the
agree.
football. Now, whether or not they can actually run the football well enough to beat Philadelphia, because nobody's been able to do that so far this season. We're the one team they haven't faced that can really run the hell out of the football and is going to dedicate themselves to doing it. So outside of us, they haven't seen much,
Yeah,
honestly, running game wise. But Green Bay, They're Jekyll and Hyde. Like I told people prior to the wild card game against Dallas last offseason, last playoff season, they were going to win. People thought I was crazy. I told
Yeah.
people that's the type of team, that's the type of defense, indoors on a fast track, no weather hindering anything. Jordan Love was going to carve Dallas up, and he went there and he carved Dallas up. He
Yeah.
was having a decent game against San Francisco, but I think the moment and the experience of San Francisco kind of closed in on him and San Francisco the way it did us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we played well enough early on to beat San Francisco, but I think ultimately our youth and our inexperience in that type of situation and those moments eventually showed. And Frisco was the veteran team that eventually pulled it out. But no, this year I see a tremendous defense with the Philadelphia Eagles. Lots of talent in the front seven. A lot of that youth that they have in the secondary is starting to play well. They run
Yeah.
the ball very, very well. They have one of the best offensive lines, either 1A or 1B with us, more than likely in the NFL.
Yeah.
But that lack of passing game, man, I don't understand how people keep glossing over that. Like, it's not, Jalen Hurts has some interesting comments after the game today when Philadelphia Eagles pressers, because they pressing them. New York, Philadelphia, they ain't playing around. They going to press you about stuff. And
Yeah.
they asked him a couple questions about not being able to get Devontae Smith and about to say Antonio Brown, AJ Brown involved in the offense more. And earlier, he passed it off. Hey, well, not my job and this and that. Kind of is
Mm-hmm.
your job, man.
Yep.
One as the starting quarterback, and you the guy that makes all the money, and you got two wide receivers that are both making nearly $30 million a year. It kind of is your job.
Yeah.
And you've been with this team for what, 4 years now? So this is your offense. You're not some fill-in stopgap veteran quarterback. Like this is your team now. So it kind of is your responsibility to get AJ and Devontae the ball more. So that's neither here nor there. But
Yeah.
I still think Phillies, they're tough enough. And come playoff time, you and I discussed it. What we saw against Tennessee, what we saw against Jacksonville, typically that's not going to happen in the playoff game. It's going to be a tough, hard-nosed, close game. We all remember what the Ram game looked like last year in the wild card round. We remember what the Tampa Bay game looked like in the divisional round last year.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, games are going to be close. Now, it was close until we finally pulled away from Tampa in the fourth quarter of that game, I believe, in the divisional round last year. But usually they're tough, hard-nosed, close, one-possession games, you know? And for a team that struggles to score enough as it is in Philadelphia, you're kind of dependent on your defense to go against Detroit, whether it's go to Ford Field in the national championship, go to Ford Field in the NFC championship game and hold Jared Goff and these boys under 20.
Yeah.
Because I handed to them. They strapping offenses up. They holding teams under 20. They're holding teams to 21, 22 points. But what happens when it doesn't happen that way? And I like the way even Green Bay's run scheme, for that matter. They have a lot of zone scheme, a lot of zones scheme, a lot of outside. I knew that was going to give us problems, especially considering the fact that we didn't have any size in the middle of that defensive line the other night. So
Yeah.
did it surprise me that Jacobs and Green Bay's offensive line had a tough game against us? Yeah. No, but actually, no, it doesn't. Like I said, because I kind of expected them to run the ball well. Can they do that to Philly? That's a whole different, topic, but they can score. And for teams, and I keep saying this, man, unless you're talking about the 2001 Ravens, it's
Yeah.
going to be hard to be a defense number one team that runs the ball really well and run the gauntlet. Because you're talking about Minnesota, who got Addison out there, and they got Jefferson, and they got tight ends, and they got, even though I'm not a big fan of Darnold, and I think Philadelphia ultimately defensively would be too much for Darnold, they can score. The Packers can
Yeah.
score. Detroit can score. So what are you going to do when everybody isn't going to just bow down to that defense? What if Detroit gets up 24-7?
Yeah.
You dealing with a quarterback right now in Jalen Hurts. He's 32nd in the league in pass attempts. Last time I checked, I think he was 26th in passing yards. He was bottom half in passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
What team voluntarily wants to do their quarterback like that? They doing it
Yeah.
because, and I think you said something earlier that you believe something's going on with him. I don't know if he's injured. I don't believe it's anything like that because I haven't even heard that from any Eagles fans.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something
It's not
wrong
something's
with
not
that
right.
offense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something's not right. Something's not right. If you look at it, Walt, Jared Goff and Sam Darnold through week 14 now, there there are people talking about Jared Goff MVP. I mean, Sam Darnold's right there. I mean, let's see, Jared Goff got 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, 3,265 yards for the season. Jared Goff is on pace to throw a career high in touchdowns. His career high is 32 for in 2018, Walt. So he has what 4 games to go to throw 8 touchdowns, which I think, man, we should see the over and under on that. I'll check that, but it's safe to say I think Jared Goff's going to have a career year, and beat that touchdown. He might throw 7 touchdowns next week against the Bills in one game. So watch out for that. Sam Darnold though, 28 touchdowns, 32. Yeah, I see Ralphie. Yup, he's got 3,209. He's got more passing yards than Jared Goff actually. Sam Darnold's been great. I agree with you, man. You waiting on him to make the mistake, and he had a bad game like Goff. I think remember Goff had the 5 interception game against the Texans. Darnold had 3 picks about 4 or 5 weeks ago, just like Goff did, man. It's almost
He
identical
had
with
three
the with
against
the
Jacksonville, matter of fact.
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's just gonna be interesting. I'm telling you, man. Down the stretch here, circle next week's game. And you see, they Bills lost to the to the Rams today, so yeah, I agree. I was just gonna say 3-1
Oh
pick.
man, don't do that now.
No, but
Y'all gonna
I'm not.
play
I
the
would.
y'all scared now?
No, 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 no. I won't say it
Uh,
this week. I think the Lions are gonna beat the Bills, but yeah, they will be highly motivated. But you know what? Uh, 3-1-3 and fun. I don't think that Buffalo has another gear like the Lions have. I think that's the situation, man. Let's just say the Lions can win 20-17. We know that, right? And that's only because I think if we don't put our foot on the gas or we made some mistakes, we can kind of get out of it. I think the Lions got another gear, man. And I don't know if the Bills can match that. I really don't. I mean, today you can say, well, the Rams scored 44, they scored 42, but it was some stuff that happened in that game. You know what I'm saying? It was a weird game. It was a lot of, block punt for a touchdown. Just a way. Uh, yeah, right. And
so Corey,
Corey, everybody's saying it, and I totally agree. I just think that Buffalo they're good, but they don't pose any threat at all. I think Minnesota is
because
more capable of beating the Lions than in
for
Buffalo. That's
one, they
how I feel about it.
defensive line don't match up.
Nope, nope.
I
I don't.
think Buffalo's gonna have the same issue this year that they had last year with Cincinnati. And I told you, like, even though Buffalo may have been better than Cincinnati,
Yeah,
Cincinnati run the ball when they want to, or at least when they wanted to.
yeah,
And for a team like they too small. They too small up front. Detroit's gonna run the ball on Buffalo like they ran the ball on pretty much everybody
yeah.
else.
What up, though, Corey? Yeah,
Now, whether or not the passing game works out, that's neither here nor there. We don't know how Josh Allen's gonna look against our defense, our secondary. Our guys had 10 days off from the looks of things, and you and I were talking about it earlier. It doesn't look like they're gonna flex the game.
yeah.
So,
425 start. Yeah,
our guys got 10 days off, a well-deserved 10 days off. I'm pretty sure by that time Mosley's allegedly, and I'm even trying to be funny, but part of me still is trying to be funny about it, but
mm,
it was alleged that he was gonna play this week.
yeah,
Didn't happen. So you're tacking on. They never told us, and they never clarified exactly why he didn't play
yeah.
um today. I mean, not today, but this Thursday, this
Thursday. Yeah,
Thanksgiving. But we were expecting him to be back against the Colts. So now
yeah,
you're talking about an added 10 days on to him already being off. Hopefully he plays. Not that I expect him to have a big impact, but for the
yeah,
simple fact, just from a numbers standpoint, man, we need people. We need numbers out there. We need more people out there as we can get. So
yeah. Man, I love it, man. Just what Corey and Rob said, man. What's up, guys? About Sam Darnold, and And I agree with you, Walt. It's almost like you waiting on Sam Darnold to screw it up, and he hasn't yet. But like you said, I can't be a hypocrite. I can't say, well, I believe. I just think Jared Goff has got a better track record and what we,
Ain't no think he does.
you know what I'm saying, that he's got a better track record than that he's more trustable than Darnold. I just believe that the Lions
Of course.
are still better. You know what I'm saying? I still think they're better across the board. Getting back to the game, man, I just want to say this while it's on my mind, man. Standing ovation for Aaron Glenn, okay? Pat O'Connor, 95, play with his hair on fire.
Al
Pat
Qadim
O'Connor,
Muhammad,
yeah, El Qadim Muhammad,
Jamal Adams, few
Jamal
snaps
Adams.
he gave us.
Now he got shook out his boots a couple times, but it was almost, man, like Jamal Adams just
Zadarius Adams.
Zadarius
Zadarius Smith.
Miles Adams. What's a Rob? It's almost like, man, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I really couldn't, man. I mean, we know this team is good. We know that. But I mean, sometimes they just, for me this year, they've proved it to me a couple times.
He right too.
You know, right.
He 100% right. Like Team Jacksonville had numerous opportunities. The man turned the ball over in the red zone, 2 or 3 times against Jacksonville?
Yeah. Yep.
They had every
horrible.
opportunity. But they winning. They won games last year, despite the fact that they were without quarterback. And they winning games this year. But if you're just comparing how they win these games, so it's like there is a lot of luck involved in it. Now they make the plays down the stretch to win these games. At the end of the day, they sitting up there with 10 wins right now?
11. They're 11-2. Like the Eagles. Yeah. 11-2. They sit in the 5th seed right now, if I'm not mistaken. They got the first wild card spot after the division winners.
Damn.
They're dangerous.
Why though? They done put that man in bubble wrap.
But really, I mean, that's not a bad idea. I mean, I don't know how much of a factor. I mean, I don't even think.
Ralph though.
Ben Simmons.
Say this man got a fear of the football field.
Oh man! But you know what? Jack Campbell was tremendous again, man. Jack almost got a sack. I remember Jack. He had him, and then Love kind of slipped away from him. He fell down, but. I was just proud, man, to see. Now I can't say this. I'm gonna say this right now. Now Green Bay did catch some fire in that second half, and they had their rhythm going. You know what I'm saying? Now I hate to say it. If it was another quarter, I don't know how that game would have turned out. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was screaming at the TV. I'm gonna just say this about Dan Campbell. The 4th down at his 31-yard line, I didn't like the call. Okay, I'm just gonna say I didn't like that call. You could have punted the ball and just played a field position game, because at that point we gave him a short field. You saw what Jordan Love would do. I mean, say what you want about him, call him what you want, but they scored when they had to, right? When they had to score that make the game really tight, they did. You know what I'm saying? And Jaden Reed didn't catch a pass. I mean, they was manufacturing stuff all over the field because the Lions had them all flat-footed off the speed, off the edges. But, going forward, that 4th down call throwing, I was talking to a friend of mine today, like, you go for 4th down, you give it to Money Montgomery, man. You try to get too cute, toss it back to Gibbs, which ain't a bad idea, but not on 4th down when the edges is not sealed. I mean, they were waiting on that play. I mean, that wasn't Gibbs is fast. He got that first step explosion, but he had no chance.
Play a lot on 4th down.
Right, he had no chance.
When they run it with Monty, they do.
Yep. And then they'd have been better off like just going a quarterback dive, which they did a couple times with Jared Goff. That was that worked a couple times. That was the only thing. Now, at the end of the game, I see Colin Cowherd tore Campbell up, talking about, why go for it on 4th and 1 when you in field goal range. Something could have happened. It did. We seen Goff trip. Oh, man, it was just a culmination of things that could have happened, right? Let's say he fumbles the ball. That
game was full of too many of them, bro.
Scoop and score for a touchdown. I get it. Yeah. That didn't bother me, though. I mean, I like that because we didn't even give them a chance to get the ball back. And
that was thank you.
And everybody that want to kill Dan Campbell, and say, he's a gambler. And the memes have been off the chart. All the memes I've seen, man, is funny as hell. But I'm not gonna kill Dan Campbell. I
It's
really
an
not for a guy.
yeah.
Go
Everybody
ahead,
don't view
Walt.
it the same. No,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
telling you, everybody don't view it the same.
Yeah, right. Because I think let's just say if something bad, I'm just saying, let's say if something bad would have happened and they did fumble the ball and we lost the game
The
because
media would have been on them.
yeah. Now, do you say fire him because of that? Is that fire? I mean, he's not Matt Eberflus. He
I
not,
sent you a video of somebody
yeah,
earlier that probably would have said to fire him.
yeah.
So yeah,
I, Yeah, I mean, and then you Teddy Bruschi today. Now, only thing Teddy Bruschi was right on NFL Countdown. I don't know if you've seen it. He was like, "Listen, Lions are good. They don't have to run all these gadget play. They don't have to do none of that. They don't. They teams. You wait for the other team to make a mistake. You don't have to be the team that still, makes the first
right.
mistake or whatever like that. I get what he was saying when he was saying that, but that's part of our identity, man. I really do believe that. I don't fault Dan Campbell. Nick Saban kind of was on Campbell's side. Nick
No,
Saban was
he
like,
was completely on his side on the
yeah,
on Pat McAfee the next morning.
yeah. He was like, dude, if you can't get a yard, 1 yard, if you can't get a yard in any situation, then
Dude,
you don't deserve to win. That's how I feel about it too sometimes. I feel
yeah.
like, dude, if you can't get 1 yard when we need it, you deserve to lose. That's how I
I
feel,
listen.
you know.
I heard people who was cool with it. I heard people who was against it, former players who was cool with it. Some former players say as a player, I love it. As an offensive player, I would love it because every player feels like we could do it. A team that has the percentages that they have on fourth down. I had the percentages earlier, but ended up losing track of them, of what their record is on 4th and 1,
Yeah,
percentage wise, when it's not 4th and 1, but when it's fourth down and it's 1 yard to go or less. This team has to be around in the high 90s
yep,
percentage wise because they run the ball too well. And like Dan Campbell says, people have to take this into account too. These are plays that this team has been running for 3 years on fourth
right,
down.
right,
They know
right.
when they get whatever defensive look you give them on 4th and 1, they have 3 or 4 plays to get the first
Yes,
down off of.
yes, and they
That's why
get it.
they convert at a high rate.
High
So
percentage,
going
yes.
forward on 4th and 1 is for this team ain't the same as the Jags going forward. Or
Other
the
teams been
Philadelphia
trying to
Eagles
do
going
it.
forward who can't throw the ball worth a damn, or the New Orleans Saints. People got to understand, man, this team right here is different. And to me, this man has a complete gauge on the pulse of this team. And to me,
Yes,
that's more important than anything else. He knows how much pressure his players can take. He knows what they're good at. He knows that they've been put in these situations plenty of times before. They constantly state that these plays that they run, they rehearse these plays constantly ad nauseum. There's nothing that this team isn't prepared for before they take the field. Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, and AG both have said this. They work ad nauseum to get this team prepared every single Sunday.
yeah,
Now, I look at it like this. And Nick Saban, I'm gonna ride with Nick Saban. I felt this way before I heard what Nick Saban said. Nick Saban, for those out there who don't know who Nick Saban is, we're talking about 7-time national champion Nick Saban. He came out the next day on Pat McAfee when asked about it, and they asked him, did he have a relationship with Dan Campbell? He said no, but I watched the Detroit Lions a whole lot because they have a lot of my players, and I watch a lot of pro football. I follow all of my former Alabama players because I want to see all of them succeed. So he did say he watches the Detroit Lions a lot. He said himself in his exact words, and people can hop on YouTube, go watch the video on Pat McAfee from 2 days ago. The man said himself he agreed. Because if you take into account the injuries that that man had on that defense, the defense was reeling in the second half. And if you have the opportunity to close the game out on offense, being aggressive and controlling the game because you have no control over the game on defense,
yeah,
you kick that field goal and
yeah,
make it. That
yeah.
got to happen too. You kick that field goal and make it, and you kick the ball away to Green Bay with 48 seconds left. You're
Mhm.
passive. Now you
Right.
have to play prevent and
Pre
hope
Prevent.
Shit happens.
And
You ha-
you stay right,
and you
right.
have no control over the game. That's
Yeah,
the whole
see?
problem. Nick Saban said this. Nick Saban's straight up quotes: "Passive don't win squat."
Right,
You have to
right,
be
that's right.
aggressive in those situations because also overtime. And Saban brought that up as well. Did he really want to take that team into overtime with the
Not
injuries they already
now
had?
we were
So y'all
shorthanded.
want to play
Yeah,
5 more minutes of football on top of what these dudes already been through? That
yeah,
man for that game, and I want to get back to you for 1 second. That game right there, for the national media who feels like this is what this man does every game, he's a raging idiot. He doesn't know how to manage a football game. And me and you talked about this earlier. They fell behind 23-7 to the Houston Texans, and that man didn't go for it on fourth down not one time that game. And he had every reason to go for it on fourth down in that game a few times. But
yeah,
he had a gauge on the football game. He knew, okay,
yeah,
second half of the game, 3-and-out for Houston, three and
yeah,
out for Houston, back-to-back interceptions. Oh, Houston can't score. My offense eventually will pick it up. We ain't got to press. My
yeah,
defense got Houston locked down. My offense going to eventually figure it out. The offense eventually figured it out and they won the game.
yeah.
So people need to take into account this man has an understanding of how each game is unfolding. To me, which is the most important thing for a head coach to do. You can be great at analytics. You can be great at scheming up things defensively, offensively. If you're not a leader of men, if you can't instill a culture, if you don't have an understanding of all 53 personalities on your football team, you're not going to be a good head coach at all. This man did what he had to do Thursday night to make sure they left downtown with a win because, like you and I said earlier, they honestly had no business winning that game.
Nope.
Green Bay, if Green Bay was as thorough as Packers fans say they are, they should have came here and they should have beat us thoroughly.
Yeah,
Problem is this: y'all started the game slow as hell. You let us develop momentum. You picked up momentum towards the end of the first half. Dan Campbell went for it on fourth down, fourth and goal, right before halftime, got that touchdown. That put a stall to their momentum. And you and I talked about some people didn't think they should have went for it on fourth down in that situation. I'm
yeah,
not going into Green Bay had already picked up a little bit of momentum. I'm not going into halftime up 13-7. I'm going up 17-7.
yeah,
Because you and I said, I bet you second half, very first possession, Green Bay scored a touchdown.
yeah.
And they did. And then they scored another touchdown.
I
And then they
scored
took
another
the
one.
lead.
Yeah,
Now,
yep,
we would have been passive and would have kicked that field goal before the end of the first half. We would have found our ass down by double digits.
yeah,
Now we
yep.
got to
Because they
climb
scored.
uphill.
That's right. We'd have been down at least by 11 points. That's totally right. That's what
If
you
we would have
said.
kept kicking the ball the other night, we would have lost by 10 points.
Yeah,
More than
I was
likely, 10 plus.
I was gonna mention the Houston game. That's what I was wanted to say, but you mentioned it. You was absolutely right. I think that, like you say, you absolutely do the right thing right now, and just do right by your players. We already hobbling here the last week. You know what I'm saying? You don't, like you say, you don't want to go in and play extra period of football. We don't have to. We already beat up. Let's get the heck out of here. You know what I'm saying? And gauge it like that. And it was funny that you said that because I think that Campbell has learned, I think, from last year. Gauging my thing is in game situations is critical, man. You know what I'm saying? Just like you said, the game plan, the Green Bay had the right game plan. I mean, Josh Jacobs, he was running the ball pretty excellent. He was running the ball pretty good. It looked good out there. But I think ultimately, I think what that we seen it front and center. I think that the thing that's better about this team, Walt, is a secondary. Like last year, I don't think the guys was kind of confident on the back end to play some of the coverages. I mean, we had the audacity to have like Kawan Alexander and you know what I'm saying, and Jamal Adams. Listen, those guys came right off the street, man, and Quan Alexander looked like he got beat on some plays. I seen him and Jamal Adams both, but you know what? I mean, like that first series of the game. Remember, I told you Z got the sack.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
Very
that
first
really
play of the
set the
game.
tone. I really do. I think that set the tone for the whole game. Because remember, you text me and you was like, our defensive line got like 4 linebackers on D line. It was crazy. They had Jack Campbell lining up on the edge. You know what I'm saying? And you had Miles Adams out there. Aleem McNeil. We lost Aleem. it was just amazing how we was able to piece that thing together, man. You know what I'm saying? Just to be able to. I thought the hitting was top notch out there. I thought Kawhi Alexander played really good. Jamal Adams, he's a pro, so you don't have to hold his hand out there. I think with those guys, I think you just got to get them up to speed. But man, that was the one thing I was worried about. What they look like. I mean, no disrespect, I didn't want them to look like fat and out of shape out there, but they didn't. They didn't look like that at all. I mean, them guys looked like they was out there hitting people. You know what I'm
Because I
saying?
think it's
So
we never been this before. You know, you hear
yeah,
other organizations talk about, you know, their championship pedigree or their championship caliber, and
yeah,
free agents off the street begging to go there and play for them, and they view this as their only opportunity to do it. Jamal Adams said, "Thank you, Jesus."
yeah.
When's
Right.
the
He was
last
like,
time you seen
he
anybody
was
say thank you,
right. He
Jesus, to
was
play for the
coming a
Lions,
lion.
dude? Yeah, it's like Darius Smith was hyped to come here.
Yeah,
David Long Jr., he's out there playing. He's out there
yeah.
running
David
around
Long
looking
Jr.
fresh now. So these are veterans that are
Yeah,
classic veterans that
I
know what to
like that,
do. They
man.
know how to fit into a locker room. Jamal Adams knows what his career is at this point in time in it. Zadarius Smith. David Long Jr. is the only young one. He's still, 27, I believe. But like they
Yeah,
also realize that,
yeah,
okay, if I go there to Detroit, I have a chance. I'm gonna get treated fairly.
yeah,
I'm gonna have an opportunity to make this football team next year. Like, it's not gonna be no politics. You
yeah,
know, if I go there, I'm a good locker room guy. I play well, I produce, I play hard as hell.
yeah,
They're gonna
yeah,
bring me back. And I think free agents look at Detroit like, okay, I can go there and have a fair shot to play.
yeah.
And and make some money, because it's obvious they take care of their people too. But yeah, it's like, yeah, Ralph, like we've never seen this. We
Yeah,
we
yeah,
never seen anybody
yeah.
thank Jesus to come to Detroit, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Jake Casey, right? Jake Bates, the same thing. You know what I'm saying? These guys, man. And then how about Tim Patrick, man? My guy, he been on our prop bets for about a
That's
month.
Ralph Boy.
You know what I'm saying? He been on our prop bets for. Remember, I was saying anytime it was like plus 700 for Tim Patrick for anytime touchdowns. He got two last Thursday, man.
He
It's
a
another
red zone
guy.
body.
Yeah, yup. Tim Patrick's been phenomenal, man. I got a game ball. I'm a Ross St. Brown. Really, has come in here and praised like Tim Patrick being a professional. His work ethic. You know what I'm saying? His blocking abilities to seal that edge off. He's done that time and time again. I think Campbell likes him. You know what I'm saying? They just realize
They
that they
got the
got
hunger too.
themselves. Yep, they got themselves a
They
player.
know how to pick players with chips on their shoulders.
Yeah, he's definitely a keeper. Tim Patrick's a keeper, bro.
As
You know what I'm
long as he's
saying?
healthy.
Long
Yeah.
as he's healthy, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna talk
But
about
had
that
the
too.
nerve to say, I was trying to diffuse the situation. You do
Yeah,
realize this 2024, we all got cell phones, laptops,
yeah.
MacBooks,
Yep.
box is everything. We all saw it.
Matt LaFleur, listen, I like him as a coach, but I kind of
I'm
listen,
starting not to.
you should never get into it with a fan. You should never get into it with a fan. And I'm not giving a fan any slack at all, but I I don't know. I lost respect for LaFleur. I really did. I mean, he out there crying. I mean, the way this whole Green
They
Bay,
making themselves real unlikable. And I
yeah,
know a
yeah,
lot of
Green,
Lions fans don't, but is they making themselves very unlikable.
yeah, and they switch it on us. They switch it on us big time, and they say, "Well, y'all this, y'all that," and it's just like it's totally they delusional, man. It's crazy. Matt LaFleur is kind of on my list of coaches I don't like anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because I was giving
He
him
had a
because
crybaby look to himself too. Every time the
yeah,
camera cut over him to the side, he like he about to cry, dog.
yeah, man, that's what I don't like. And then I because this is why I say I liked it because I think when you go into any situation as a coach and you successful and you do it time and time and time again, I think it's something to be said for that. I think LaFleur has always had at least 10 wins since he's been in the league. I don't think he ever missed the playoffs or had a bad season, if I'm not mistaken. So that's I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he acting like a chump. The last couple years, you never find out about your opponents until you start winning.
Uh, what about this? What about the theater this is going to be? And I'm proclaiming this because I really believe it's going to happen. I think we're going to play both of them in the playoffs. I think we're going to play Green Bay and Minnesota in the playoffs. I just do. I think The NFC North, mark this down. I think NFC North is going to be the last team standing, man. I really do. I think that somehow, some way, we're going to wind up playing Green Bay or Minnesota to go to the Super Bowl. I just feel that's what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I think the theater for that matchup, whoever it is going to be off the charts, man. You know what I'm saying? Just from the fan bases, the rivalries renewed. Listen, Minnesota Green Bay kind of had their way in the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, the Minnesota time when they had they Culpepper and all that. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, you can kind of count the years, Jeff Joe, how far you want to go back. But what I'm saying is the Lions have never been in the mix like this now. So it's funny when you get good, like you said, they all kind of butthurt about it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And now they mad. They like, y'all don't know how to win. And they always go back to, well, Detroit sucks. And y'all, it's just like, tell me something different, right?
Man, they can shut up with all that. Because at the end of the day, I can't recall. I was born in 1983. I can't recall all through the 90s watching bad Lions football. I can't recall Packers fans ever showing us sympathy. I can't recall Packers fans ever saying, good game, Lions fans. You guys really put it out there, man. Good game for Herman Moore, Barry Sanders. But, man, you guys are right on us, man. You coming. No, like, we got clowned for years. Yeah. We got laughed at. We got talked about. We got bragged on. And let's be honest, man. Packers fans getting delusional with all this.
Yeah.
We're better. You can't keep losing to a team and keep claiming you better. You know how many times the Packers have beaten us since 2021?
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah.
That was last Thanksgiving.
Lamar. Yeah, Lamar. I knew Lamar was gonna get on me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he is. But
yeah.
But the funny thing about this is too, and we need to give this man a ring if we win one.
Yeah.
Sue responsible. Sue responsible for a lot of this, man. We didn't turn things around against Green Bay until Sue got here.
Yeah.
Once Sue got here, we've been kicking ass. We've been kicking Green Bay.
Yeah, 6 out of I think we six out of 7 we beat Green Bay, man. 6 out of
I told you they beat us. They beat us on Thanksgiving last year, and that was the first time they beat us since the end of 2021. And they won that game by 7, I believe.
Yeah. Yep, man. It would be phenomenal to play them in the playoffs, man. I just think that would be better than more in any Philly storylines. You know what I'm saying? I don't even want to put up with with
that's a good question. Who would you rather beat?
Who would I rather beat to get
to
the
what
Super
would feel
Bowl?
better? Beat Green Bay here or go play at Philly in the national championship. It is that time almost.
Yeah.
In the NFC championship and win at Philly.
Ooh, boy.
Because you want to, Packers fans are really be butthurt.
Yeah, because we've checked off all of our boxes, right? All of our demons.
So Philly next.
This is why I think that Sterling Sharp touchdown.
We got to slay that jump. we got
to just I forget Philly, man. I don't want to go to Philly. I want our fans to experience us going and beating the team and going to the Super Bowl. So skip Philly.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I want to beat Green Bay here, man. That would be just top notch for me. You know what I'm saying? It just everybody would be there. You just picture it, man. You would see Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, Spielman's already on the staff. You would have everybody coming out. You probably bring Wayne Fontes from Florida. He probably catch a flight and Wayne Fontes would be sitting up in the stand.
Wayne still look good, man. He still moved around good. He was on what's the name podcast the other day? John Gruden.
Okay.
Matter of fact.
Yeah.
He still love the Lions too.
It would be special, to have Calvin Johnson, but something within me, just like Ralphie mentioned. Now Philly would be special too because like they're the team. Like Shady McCoy, Tony Gonzalez. I mean, I'm petty. I got a list of people that's been running their mouth, and it would be good, Nick Wright. It'd be good to see because they would always say, "Well, Detroit didn't play Philly, or Philly's still the best team," and it just beat them and put them out their misery.
And
that
would
how
be dumb awesome. That sounds though. That would be, but they gonna do it. To your credit, they will do it. If Green Bay beats Philadelphia, in the
Hmm.
second round, and we go ahead and we beat Green Bay. Oh yeah, you already beat Green Bay. You played them twice. You already knew them, but you didn't have to play Philly.
Then I had to
But
play
Philly
Philly.
lost though.
Right. Right. So, yeah, but I mean, this is just for me, to see this team go 12-1 now, it's a real possibility. Well, I mean, just moving forward, I mean, we can get off Green Bay, no reason to even talk about them no more. um this team might go 16-1. They might. I mean, and then I was talking to a real good friend of mine today. He was like, "Bro, we really supposed to be set. We are gonna go 17-0." He was like, "We should have beat Tampa. Go back and look." I was like, "Yes, we have 5 or 6 possessions inside the 20-yard line. We didn't score against Tampa. I mean, that was really the game. Why we lost the game against Tampa. I mean, think about it. Just having a historic, way this season played out. It's really, I didn't even kind of want to believe it, but man, this could be like one of the special seasons of all time in NFL history. I don't think you know we nobody's seen this coming. I mean, you brought up a good stat, man. You was on the phone and you was talking about uh since you brought up a good, we'll tell the people since last year, Walt, how many games, like you said, what was the last game we lost? Like, that was a good question. And I think we named the Philly. I mean, remember the Cowboys game last year, right? The Decker reported that one, that debacle. That was what, on New Year's Eve or something last year. So we lost that one. No, before that we lost to Green Bay on Thanksgiving. We lost the Dallas game, and then we lost the NFC Championship game. Right. So that's 3 losses, and then one this year. So, like you said, we've only lost 3 games out of the last 25, or however you do the math, whatever. It's over 20
they
something
they're on a
games.
crazy they're on a
It's
very
crazy.
crazy streak right now, and I don't think people around the NFL understand the level of the streak that this Detroit Lions team is on, man. They lost, was it 20-16 to Tampa?
Yep, 20-16. Yep,
Okay.
that was the
They
score.
lost 2016 to Tampa. They lost 34-31 to the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship. And
Yeah,
then if you go back prior to that, they lost on some bullshit at Dallas.
yeah,
Dallas didn't really beat them.
yeah,
They lost. Baltimore destroyed them. Baltimore did destroy them.
yeah,
And Green Bay, Green Bay
yeah.
jumped on us early. We closed the gap later on in that game on Thanksgiving. But we ultimately we lost to Green Bay. Green Bay dominated that game, but we kind of closed the gap late. The
Mhm.
Baltimore Ravens are the last team that really
That
beat our
embarrassed
ass.
her. Yep, that just beat the line. Like, man,
Yeah.
they beat the Lions' ass. I mean, that's like I can't even remember that was a
Dude,
very
since
good
the end of
question.
2020, was it 2021 season? Where
Yeah.
we won 8 out of the last 9. They
Yep.
was I saw some crazy stat since that point in time, since the end of the 2021 season, only the Kansas City Chiefs have a better record than Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Not the Buffalo Bills, not the Philadelphia Eagles,
Yeah.
not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not the Dallas Cowboys, us.
Yeah.
That's something that this is not some fluke, man.
No.
That people keep thinking that, okay, you know what? Like, I understand Kansas City Chief fans being kind of butthurt because we beat them last year in the first game of the season, and a lot of people are pushing us as the favorites to win the title. We're also being pushed as the favorites to come out of the NFC. Chiefs fans don't like that. They already upset because we won that game last year, and they looking at it now as, okay, those Lions, they haven't accomplished nothing. Let's be real. All the things that the Kansas City Chiefs did before the trade deadline, the guys they brought in, they brought those guys in for us.
Yeah.
Whoever planning on coming out the AFC, they planning on playing us. Real teams in the NFL know who's the best team in the NFL, let alone the best team in the NFC. The
Yeah.
media can go out there and push whoever the hell they want to push. Same thing with draft time every year. You ever notice how the guys that get drafted in the top 10 or the top 15 or the top 20,
Yeah.
the top 2 rounds, never seen to match up with who the guys or the
Yeah.
gals
Yeah.
who do all this draft talking every year, what they have to say, it never adds up to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think, man, listen, Kansas City upset. I get it because they feel like they the champs and people are just crowning Detroit. I don't think people are crowning Detroit. I think the media is kind of still split down the middle because you still have people who view that lion on the helmet and that lion on the helmet will not allow them to view us for who we really are. So it's going to take the Lions actually winning the Super Bowl for people to be like,
Yeah. Yep, I seen that too. Lamar Spirit of Detroit. What's up, Lamar? He said something good here about the 95% of pay. I heard that too, because the Lions have got like Vegas jacked up right now. You know what I'm saying? Like the betting is just all like, put this way, it's really like no sleeper team. They want somebody else to emerge, and I don't know if it is right now, because you gotta, you know what I'm saying?
well,
I
you got to
mean,
have a villain. I
yeah,
mean,
of
we
course,
we
of
we're
course,
obviously the best team in the NFC, so everybody can't get behind us. They got to push somebody to beat us. But like it's like Floyd Mayweather right now. They won't
yeah.
just admit we the best, so they got to find somebody to say we gonna lose to.
Yeah, who would you rather like? Who would you rather play right now? I had a conversation today, like in the AFC. Like, we make it to the Super Bowl, would it be who would you rather play? I mean, not because I think we would beat either Kansas City or Buffalo. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant and say put us in the Super Bowl already. What I'm saying is just what you said about the Chiefs. I would rather play the Chiefs than Buffalo. I think it would be awesome for Buffalo and Detroit, because somebody, if Buffalo and Detroit play one of those teams that obviously win the Super Bowl that hasn't won one, that would be special about that matchup,
Yeah.
right? But I'm just thinking it would be more to say Kansas City, because they're the champ. You know, you want to beat the best. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah, that's who
that's
I
all.
would want to play. I think the
Yeah,
Chiefs would be more difficult too, because with Kansas City, you're not only talking about going against Pat, you talking about going up against Andy Reid. And like I say
yeah,
all the time, I think Andy Reid is probably the best play caller,
hmm,
offensive play caller I've seen. You can argue whether or not you think he's a better coach than Bill Belichick. Um, can't really. I mean, of course, Bill got the championships.
yeah,
Bill also had a different situation, but we saw once Andy got him that quarterback, Andy took off. Not to say McNabb wasn't the quarterback, but he couldn't get over the hump with McNabb,
yeah,
you know. But he did manage to win a ton of games with the Philadelphia Eagles when he was there, and he did get them to a Super Bowl. So we already knew Andy had the pedigree. Andy had the caliber, but once Andy got a G at quarterback, Andy been winning ever since. For
yeah.
the most part. But
Yeah,
I think the Chiefs are definitely the tougher matchup. The Chiefs defense is tougher. And you're talking
mhm,
about going up against what, Jordan and Phil Jackson?
yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
but I ain't scared at all, man. I done heard people say, yo,
nah.
Baltimore ain't as good as they was last year. I would rather play them. No, I want to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, right. You
I
want
want
to
to
play the
beat the
best.
Chiefs. Let's be honest about it, man.
Are you worried about, if we get back to our Are you worried about Terry Arnold? Is he
Nah.
hitting the rookie wall, you think? I'm not either. I'm just asking the question. I don't think
He
that
having the
Terry.
problems I think you and I discussed when we did the rookie video before the
Mhm,
season started after the draft.
yeah,
He's It's the lack of athleticism. It's the lack of quick twitchiness. It's the lack of change of direction skills. Is good enough for Alabama? Is it good enough for elite guys at wide receiver in the NFL?
yeah,
He's having his problems, of course. And I told people he was gonna have these problems. He's too handsy. Guys who struggle athletically, they get extra handsy. That last pass interference call where they called it on him in the end zone, and he got to complaining before the flag even came out. That's how I'm like, you know it was PI, bro.
yeah,
Get your hands off of him.
yeah.
They not
I
gonna
thought
let
that
you
was
just ride.
BS.
I was watching film of an Ohio State DB earlier, Davison. Last name start with an I. He coming out this year. And I was
Yeah,
watching film of him earlier, and I was saying the same thing about him watching the film. Get your hands off of him. Get your hands off of him. Get your hands off of
yeah,
him. You're not supposed to be touching them 5 yards downfield. Okay, you jam them, you chucking them. They'll let you get away with chucking
yeah.
after
That's what I'm
five
saying.
yards, but you chucking and then you grab it around the bottom half of the waist, and you thinking they don't see you because it's your left arm and the line judge is in front of you, but the
Yeah,
judge behind you in the back of the end zone saw your ass, so he
yeah,
called you for it, and now
yeah.
it's like, dude, cover with your hands. I mean, not hands. Cover with your feet, and you cover with your eyes.
Well, he's with him stride for stride. It's just like you said. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
he's getting turned around. He's
He
got to
panicked
find
too
a
much.
yep to happen because he like, oh shit, he want to make a play. I can see what he trying to do. He wants to make a play. I'm with Terry, and I'm still with him. I'm just saying I was just seeing where your head was at with Terry and Arnold, but again, Brian Branch was another guy that was just phenomenal, man. I can't say enough about Brian Branch. I think Brian Branch making a Pro Bowl this year, bro. Him and Kirby Joseph. I mean, it might be a lock that those
They
two
gonna play
guys make.
one of them
Yeah, but maybe so. I think Brian Branch more so than Kirby Joseph.
because
You
Kirby
know what I'm
didn't
saying?
cooled off pick wise the last.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Brian Branch is exceptional. Jack Campbell borderline Pro Bowler, dude. At this point, at this second half of the season, not at the beginning. But I mean, he's not going to make it. I don't think. But it's just
I think Aleem is. He
yeah,
should.
Lee McNeil. I just can't see. You can't say enough about him, man. The what he's done this year. You're going to get Anzalone back here before the playoffs. Next week maybe Anzarike, Josh Pascal might play this Sunday next week. Against Buffalo. Uh, Taylor Decker. You want to think that Taylor Decker might be back. On that offensive line as well. Uh, Outstanding effort. Like I said, just given the fact that we were trying to just piece it together and just to go out and just have a showing that they did. It was like, man, you can't deny it. I mean, we barely had who we needed out there and we won. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Just imagine if our guys was out there full strength. You would think that we would hammer this team. You know what I'm saying? So uh, I think we answered a lot of questions too, at least for myself, because I thought that Green Bay was a bump in the road that we kind of had to, even though we beat them. I was still thinking of the like you were just saying the threat offensively to be able to score, in bunches. They get hot, they score
And
14
they did.
unanswered, and they did right, and we held them off. You know what I'm saying for the most part. So as long as our running game is continuing to be dominant, hats off, standing ovation for Jameer Gibbs, to crack 1,000 yards, this season. I mean, the running back position is totally back in the NFL. You know what I mean? And what you got to do whatever you can to sign Jameer Gibbs long term, or at least 3-4 year deal. I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying? I know it's early as hell. It's 2 years in his career, but I mean, I think the running back position is back for real. I think you're gonna see, guys getting paid, man. For a running back, and we got one of the best ones in the NFL. Sky's the limit. And we seen B. John Robinson today, Atlanta. Another disappointment for the Falcons. I just can't believe this team would just. I just the Kirk Cousins thing. I'm over Kirk Cousins. I really am. He'll look good. He'll throw for 350. He would. He'll throw 350, 2 touchdowns against the Titans, and look damn good. But today, another 350, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Typical Kirk Cousins stat line when it matters, man. And I don't know where the Falcons go from here. I really don't. I was really disappointed because I think
Michael
the
Penix
Falcons.
Jr.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, they drafted him, and we liked the draft pick at the time, but I was like, you signed Kirk Cousins, but man, they need to move on from Kirk and do it right now. Because I mean, not now this second, but just when the season's over, evaluate it because that team ain't going nowhere. That was out of all the games this weekend. I think they were the most disappointing to me. I really do because it was like they had an opportunity, even though the Vikings was at home.
Man, I'm
You
gonna ask
know,
you this question because I'm disappointed in the Atlanta Falcons too. I know a decent amount of people from Atlanta. I know a lot of Falcons fans. If you look at that team, okay, they fired Arthur Smith.
yeah,
They got Arthur Smith out of there. They felt like he was the problem. The offensive play caller was the problem.
yeah,
Kept all the same players.
yeah.
They see you get rid of Desmond Ritter, you bring in Kirk Cousins, a seasoned vet. You figure, okay, we put a seasoned veteran like Kirk Cousins behind this offensive line, which was decent.
Yeah,
Well, running game wise, they're decent. Pass protection wise, they're not.
yeah,
But nevertheless, you bring Kirk Cousins in, you draft, you spend the number 7 overall pick on Michael Penix, which was kind of like, I don't know. You can't persuade me to believe that ownership, Arthur Blank, didn't know that they were doing that with his number 1 pick.
Yeah.
I don't think they just sprung it on the owner. Yeah, we taking another quarterback after you just gave this other guy $130 million fully guaranteed, but they do have Penix as the backup. Now, will Michael Penix turn out to be good in the NFL, great or whatever, or even average? We don't
Yeah.
know. We won't know about any of these guys till they actually touch the field, but they have a backup plan. But something's bad in Atlanta, man. That team
Mhm.
is too talented. Um,
Yeah.
Pass protection wise, they can get better at the guard position. For that matter, the two tackles that they do have are better in the run game. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
look at that stable of running backs. You look at the tight end position.
Oh
Nobody.
man.
They still can't seem to unlock Kyle Pitts. Look at
Yep.
the receiving core they got over there. You got two of the best safeties in football. You invested a bunch of resources in the top seven. I mean, in the top 30. Well, the first round of the draft, the last 2 or 3 years, as far as front seven players, none of those
Yeah.
guys are really panning out for the most part. And then you look at Morris, Raheem Morris.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a brother lose his job. I hate seeing any head coach lose their job, but it gets to a point where maybe it's just not you. Maybe you can't get it together as a coach either. And I think this was what Raheem Morris' third time as a head
That's
coach.
third. Yeah, I think he coached Tampa once, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Raheem Morris. I know he's been around for a while though, but he was the
Yeah.
head coach of Tampa for a minute too.
Was it Denver or maybe he was just defensive coordinator? Maybe he did coach the Broncos too. But I know
If he
he
was, he might have been the interim. I think was Steve Wilkes. Or Steve Wilkes was the head coach in
he
Arizona
was
that year, I think.
on in Carolina, Steve Wilkes, I think it was. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
nobody's winning with that talent over there.
Man,
Is is it
Kyle Pitts want to probably body slam somebody, man, because he way more talented than what they only. It's like he ain't even out there, bro. It's crazy,
you can't
man.
persuade me to believe that Kyle Pitts can't play.
No, no,
And I've
right.
heard nothing about him character wise, nothing at Florida, nothing since he's been in Atlanta about himself. This is a dude that got married at a young age, which I think shows his maturity a lot as well.
Yeah,
Um, Something's going on in Atlanta though.
yeah,
Something's bad because y'all switched coaches. Y'all kept all the players, but y'all
yeah.
switched the coaching staff, head coach, y'all switched coordinator, y'all switched all this out, and y'all worse. Like they may end up with a worse record than what they were last year. So yeah,
It's
Atlanta's an
inexcusable.
enigma.
Inexcusable. Yeah, I agree. Moving around, we see the 49ers beat the Bears. That was kind of to be expected. Brock Purdy, three over 300, what was it, 325, I think he had. The Bears are in free fall. You know what I mean? That was my I thought the Bears would really be our competition this year. Boy, was I wrong about that. I mean, and I think that they'll be okay coming next year. You know what I'm saying? I guess, but who cares about the Bears? But what I'm saying is 49ers really need to win, man. They got that win. When they play the line, yeah, Drake London is a beast too, Corey. I agree. He's another guy that's got to be upset, in that locker room. But um, I think the 49ers got some fight left, man. And I think that game, I think, what is it, December 30th, the Lions go to San Francisco and play. That may be the season on the line for the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? Well, they may need to win that game to stay afloat. Wouldn't that be ironic if the Lions go there and just end the 49ers season, man? That would be quite the irony right there from consider what happened there last year. But um, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I know what's wrong about that. Yeah, but yeah, listen, 16-1 is on the table, man. But I think that Minnesota game, I think that next week's game, I, no reason to believe the Lions won't beat the Bills. I don't think I was more worried a couple weeks ago looking at that game. Like, oh, well, we got Buffalo, okay, well maybe that'll be a test right there. But man, they got to test who they are against us. That's how I look at it. It's not like we got to come down. They looking up at us, bro. So I expect us to beat Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the Chicago game, December 22nd, cold in Chicago. That game could go either way. You know what I'm saying? Only because of the weather, just because of, division games. Something weird always happens at Soldier Field. And then it's gonna be interesting to see how desperate the 49ers are. That's the game I got circled right now, because right now I think they're 6-7, I think. So they're trying to stay afloat, and they, like I said, maybe they might need to really win that game, or if they lose another one, they could be finding themselves out of it by that time in another 3 weeks. So it's interesting. I mean, what you see here, Walt, these next 4 games here.
I honestly see, just judging this team off of a 12-1 record so far, they haven't given me any reasons to believe they won't win these next 4 games. They have 10 days off, maybe longer, to get prepared for the Buffalo Bills. We'll have some people back. If you're looking at it from a matchup standpoint, Buffalo has some receivers out there to spread us out and give us some issues, but the problem is they don't run the ball well enough. I don't think they want to just drop back and just do too much RPO wise with Josh Allen,
Yeah,
delays, direct runs with him. They don't run the ball well enough, and we said this all season, actually for the last couple years. If you
yeah,
don't run the ball well enough, if you have no dedication to running the football, you're gonna have a tough time beating us. I think they beat Buffalo. Usually, I would say going to Chicago this time of year is a house of horrors for us. Crazy things always happen.
yeah,
I think this team has done a great job of trumping all of those myths. I think they go to Chicago, they handle Chicago. Not saying they're gonna shut Chicago out, but I think they can go to Chicago and beat Chicago. San Francisco, they outmanned right now, man. They don't have it to beat us right now. The most you can hang your hat on, I think, as a better, looking at this from a gambling standpoint with Detroit and San Francisco, you can make the argument Detroit, especially if Detroit win these next 2 games, Detroit will probably be favored at San Francisco by about 3.5, maybe 4.5. Now that line could be to reel in betters and bring
yeah,
people in for the most part, but I think Frisco is the only game right now that could be a trap, and that's because you're going halfway across town. I mean, halfway across the map
yeah,
to play San Francisco. But the thing is, and you and I talked about this earlier, this team been chilling for a month. They played at Indianapolis, and since Indianapolis, you talking about at home against who was it?
Well,
It was a Green Bay
Thanksgiving. It
thing,
was.
yeah, the Packers, and then you talking about Buffalo, and then you talking about who did we play prior to them?
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving. After the Indy game, we played Thanksgiving,
Yeah, this
and then
team
that was
hasn't traveled much,
travel. Yeah, so the travel been good. Like you said, for a month, we've been kind of in our area, so we
right?
haven't had to, fly across country
It's
or
not
anything
like
like that.
they flew down to play Arizona, then flew all the way back up to play the New York Giants in New York, then had to fly all the way back down to go play the 49ers. We talked about the early buy and how a lot of people was angry about it. I was upset about it when the schedule first came out. We said,
Yeah,
kind of shit is this? Why we got to play this many games after the buy? Why is our buy so early? The league hate us. And then we went through the schedule and looked, okay, you know what? They took care of us towards the end of the season.
yeah,
Because
geographically.
the last
Yeah,
month of the season, they let us get help. They had a feeling we was gonna get beat up. Anybody, and I think that's a big factor in this life. I heard people recently questioning the trainer, the athletic training staff. I wouldn't do that. I don't think that's fair to them. I think that when you're talking about a 17 game season and a team that had their bye in week 5,
yeah,
you're asking a team to play that many straight weeks of football and stay healthy. And
yeah,
then you mix in 3 games in 11 days before
yeah,
Thanksgiving, and you expect people to not get injured. I don't think
yeah,
it's the training staff's issue at all. This is football, man. People
yeah.
get hurt. I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with the training staff. It's just things, it's casualty of war. It comes along with the job. But
So
I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen against Frisco. But I'm not even sure we lose to Frisco.
yeah, I want to wrap up the number one seed. That's what's pissing me off too. That the Philly keep winning, and the Vikings, because man, we still got to pretty much keep our foot on the gas, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like all the way to the finish line. It's like even that week 18 game might mean something. You know what I mean? And we have to put everybody out there. So I want to get the number one. Obviously, the first thing on the checklist is to get the division, right? Because then I guarantee, your division winner You win, you get the home playoff game, at least one
It's
playoff
gonna
game.
take a
Then
complete collapse to lose the division, though.
yeah, right
Probably.
now. Correct. So now you want to get the number one seed to mean everybody come through Detroit to go to the Super Bowl. So, but to get to that, man, we might have to play all. You know what I'm saying? We can't have like our second string in there against Minnesota. You know that last week 18 in January. Because right now I think a bye would be really benefit us right now. You know what I'm saying? Another, you know what I'm saying? Get that locked up, then know, okay, we don't have to play wild card weekend, and then be ready to go. Second week of the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Have everybody back. So, um, yeah, and I agree. Brent's right. I mean, that that exactly how I see it. Just what he said, Walt. I mean, that's a good comment by Brent. He always makes some good points, as well as all our listeners. But yeah, Bills, Bears, and I agree. The Bills, I don't. They can't beat the Lions, man. You know what I'm saying? They, like you said, they don't have it in the trenches. I think that's a good way to put it, and it showed today because the Rams are they're super small too on defense. But I think the Bills' offensive line was kind of pushing them boys around a little bit, and then on the defensive line, I think our offensive line will probably have our way with their defensive line. So you know,
Rocco P, what's going on? Says Vikings not all that they beat average teams. They it's similar to how they was winning last year. This season they started the season pretty hot offensively. Brian Flores, his defensive scheme was the talk of the league. They came back down to earth offensively a little bit. They've been playing down competition wise to a lot of teams, but they won remember the year they went was the year Daniel Jones got his big contract.
yeah,
The year they won those 14 games a couple years ago.
yeah, and they beat Vikings, or didn't they, in the playoffs? They went to
The
Minnesota and
Giants. No, I'm talking
won.
about the
Yeah,
Vikings, yeah. And then the Giants beat them in the playoffs.
yeah.
Yeah. That team was winning a lot of very close games. Remember, that was the year Justin Jefferson had that crazy one-handed catch against the Buffalo Bills yeah, they was winning a bunch of real close games that year too.
Hmm.
It builds fortitude, mental strength, and all that good stuff. Same thing with our team, but I'm not trying to just overlook the Vikings. I just think that the Vikings they're not a good matchup for us, and they're on their behalf. Um,
Yeah.
are they capable of doing it? Yeah. But my feeling is this: if the Vikings were going to beat us, they would do it at home. I don't think they're going to beat us week 18 here. That's my whole thing. I don't think we lost our one game at home, and that was the Tampa Bay. I don't think anybody else is coming here beating us. I feel the same way about the playoffs. Regardless of
Yeah.
who we play in the second round, man. And once we get to the NFC Championship, I think we smashing whoever we play, especially
Hmm.
if it's here. Now we got to go to Philly, and we keep bringing up Philly because who else is gonna catch them? People thought for a second the Commanders were gonna be there. They're kind of fading back a little bit. That's Dan Quinn riding along with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
But we keep
Seattle.
bringing, yeah,
Uh,
we don't really, Seattle's very Jekyll and Hyde as well.
there.
The
Yeah.
Rams are young as hell. They got Stafford and McVay, but they still young as hell. Tampa Bay, they played us tough twice last year, and then they beat us this year. So that's
Mhm.
why we keep bringing up the Philadelphia Eagles. You can make the argument it may be a closer game in Philly, or you could also make the argument that this team is so mentally tough that they may go to Philadelphia and smash them in Philly.
Mhm.
I just think
Yeah.
that people nationwide, they're sleeping on this team, man. They're sleeping on this team tough. Now you still hear the excuse of, well, I see they're doing this and they're doing that, and they're 11-1 or they're 12-1, but can Jared Goff play in the cold?
Mhm.
You think this
Yeah.
man's never played in the cold in his career? He plays in the cold in his Green Bay every year. He went to New York and beat the Giants a couple years ago. They played the Jets in
Mhm.
20-degree weather towards the end of the season a couple years ago, one there. And I understand those are weak teams for that matter.
Yeah.
But I think people who don't want to believe in Jared Goff and they still want to hold him to who he was when he was 24 years old with Sean McVay, they keep searching for things to knock him about. Like your boy Nick Wright, who and I think even with him, he's becoming a character.
Mhm.
And I think you lose credit as a journalist when you decide to kind of flush your journalism down the toilet and become a character, a
Yeah.
villain.
Yeah.
He wants to be a heel towards the Detroit Lions. You know, he made. I sent you the video earlier where he gave Golf all of those backhanded compliments and then brought out the little small hands and everything. Like, you know, you're doing too much. But the thing is this: you can go out of your way to hate on somebody so much you end up burning your own bridge. It's
Right.
gonna hurt that boy bad if his Chiefs get burnt down by Detroit in the Super Bowl. It's
Right.
gonna hurt him bad because
Right.
we ain't picking with nobody. Everybody picking with us. That's the whole thing. But you know, it's cool. We'll prove it. We'll still be able to prove it.
Yeah.
Let's get to some of
So
these comments right quick. Oh, you can go ahead too.
no, no, no. I was just gonna say, before we put a bow on this thing tonight, you know, uh, I always felt like, we Dan Campbell had to coach different and a little bit this to a point this year, and he has. I mean, we have. I want to say I don't have Jake Bates stats in front of me, but I know Jake Bates has kicked a nice amount of field goals. You know what I'm saying? If I was a betting man, I would say Jake Bates has kicked more than my man last year. The guy I can't think on top of my head who we had last year. But he's
Badgley.
Badgley, Michael Honey Badger. Um, I'm trying to look it up and see. 'Cause I want to say, yeah, 13 games. I know Bates has missed one field goal so far, but what I'm saying is, I just think that I think one field goal, one extra point missed. But what I'm saying is, he has trusted his kicker more. You know what I'm saying? And that's shown. You know what I mean? Just by him having the confidence to kick that walk off. The way that game ended last week, the last couple. We beat.
Call this man Lord Farquaad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new one, man. I ain't never heard that one, Corey. I ain't never heard that one. Go ahead,
Yeah.
man.
No, no, no. I was just saying, just man, I just feel good coming into this one. Because I last, like I said, 3 weeks ago, I didn't think that it was like a gain in alliance, wasn't gonna, not that we couldn't compete with Buffalo, it was just like that would be a loss. But now I don't think so. The rest of this year, I don't see us losing another game, man. I mean, I really, including the playoffs. I mean, who's gonna do it? I mean, we keep saying not this week, not this week, not this team. They're not strong enough. They're weak. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the mental toughness. They don't have the trenches. They don't have the. You know what I'm saying? We're saying that about teams that we're going against, and I don't see anybody right now, Walt, that's gonna the Green Bay and Minnesota. I'll stick to my guns. Those are the two teams I think, and I think we're going to play one of those teams in the playoffs, if not both, because the way it's lined up now. Well, who would be the playoff matchups? You still got that in front of you? I know you told me who it was right now, because I think what Minnesota had.
Absolutely, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yo,
All right.
yeah.
As we speak, Detroit is in first place. If the playoffs started today, Detroit would have that first round bye sitting at 12-1. The Philadelphia Eagles sitting at number 2 would host the Washington Commanders, who are currently 8-5. The Seattle Seahawks are currently 8-5. They would host the Green Bay Packers, who are 9-4. And the
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who currently lead the NFC South at 7-6, they would host the Minnesota Vikings. You and I discussed that game too. I think, well, you don't for the most part. I think the Buccaneers can also beat the Minnesota Vikings. I think the NFC right now is full of matchups where anybody could almost beat anybody. I believe the Packers can go to Philadelphia and beat them. You also feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
We think the Vikings are capable, especially considering the fact that the Vikings caused so much chaos defensively with Brian Flores.
Yeah,
They would cause a lot of issues for Jalen Hurts in that offense passing wise. And it's gonna be difficult winning in the playoffs if you can't throw the football. You're not gonna just
yeah,
line up and just man on man beat every team to death with the run game. That's not gonna happen.
yeah,
But yeah, outside of the Commanders, I don't think anybody. I never took the Commanders serious because it's hard for me to take a rookie quarterback, and even though Dan Quinn isn't a first time head coach, he's been a head coach before, and he's a vet in this league and very well respected. That's
yeah,
still a rookie quarterback that's still the Washington Commanders, and that's still a team that's full of holes on it. And I think early on in the season, the Commanders are playing a little bit above their heads. So outside of the Commanders, if we being honest about it, who else do we really feel like can actually go out there and just beat anybody? Tampa
Dude,
Bay also, the Bucks are Jekyll and Hyde. When the Bucks show up to play, they can beat anybody. They've proven that.
yeah, they beat Philly and Detroit. They beat us and they beat Philly this year. That ain't that ironic that they
They're a
beat. You know
horrible
what I'm
matchup
saying?
for Philly though. They've been
Mm.
beating Philly the last what
Remember
3 years.
they knocked them out of the playoffs last year. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned all that because that just makes me feel like even better as seeing our team going forward because those matchups right there. The Lions took care of Seattle. I think we could beat Seattle. I think, you know what I mean? We haven't played Washington and Philly this year, but it just doesn't seem like as daunting task as it would have been when in September. You know what I'm saying? Now we know what these teams are. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Lions fans take it personal, and I like it, man.
mhm.
If you
Yeah,
ain't with us, you ain't with us. It is what it
right.
is.
Right. We roll right over you. So well, what you want to end the show with tonight? Obviously we got Buffalo next Sunday, and obviously all week we got all week to talk about the Bills. But I mean, this this last matchup, with Green Bay, I just want to maybe end it with this on my end. I was wrong. Like I said, I really thought the Packers would be a team that would really uh win just because it can't be that easy, right? But this is what this game showed me this past week. This showed me that the Lions are even better than I thought they were. You know what I'm saying? And the deep for everybody that's worried about the defense, I would just say this. I would say you got the best defensive coordinator in the league, and you got one of the best safety tandems, if not the best safety tandem in the league. Um, if you want to point out Terran Arnold in a unit that is pretty good, then if he's the guy that you're saying is the weakest link, I'm that's even making me feel even better because sky's the limit for that kid. You know what I mean? He's been baptized by fire this year by just throwing him out there, and I like the strategy, but just putting him out there, you know what I'm saying, and letting him get his lumps right now, and I think it's going to pay dividends later on. Maybe this season, he may be a different guy in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? With more confidence. Um, but for me, well, it just this win just solidified that the Lions are for real, bro. And I think we not appreciating it. I think this season we probably won't appreciate until it's over with. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that we realize like how good they are. I really don't. I think that we just take it for granted. I think that we think, that somehow, some way they're gonna screw it up. Or somehow, some way, we're not gonna make it as far as we did last year. Or you know what I'm saying? It just seems like we constantly got to keep proving it. I think that's what keep the edge on with this team. I don't think Dan Campbell's going to let these guys think that they've arrived or think that that they don't have to work as hard or anything like that. I think that the foot is constantly on the gas, and I was worried about how they will respond and constantly playing these grinder games and just having to win all these games. And it just seemed like it haven't phased this team at all, man. It's just seemed like they're more hungrier than they were last year. Montgomery runs like it. You know what I'm saying? Like he's hungry. Jameer Gibbs, Penny Sewell, the way he plays, it's just the way St. Brown is just constantly, making plays out there. He's another guy. I don't think that people realize how good St. Brown is. You know what I'm saying? Because St. Brown, listen, they know it's coming, and they still can't stop it. I'm saying when we need a play, St. Brown gets it, man. You know what I'm saying? For whatever, if he yards after the catch, if they give it to him and we need 10, they get 12. If they need 8-yard run, Montgomery gets 10. If they, you know what I'm saying? It just they get it every time. And I think the third down plays are just a sign that they're confident in what they're doing on offense. You know what I mean? It's I've never. I think Tom Brady said it. I think Chris Collinsworth referenced it last year. They're a team on 3rd and 6. Our bread and butter play is Walt turning around and handing the ball off. 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. They can get it in any way
Yeah,
possible. You know what I'm saying? I think
yeah,
that other teams can't do that. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference, man. Because like today, the Bills didn't have James Cook. I didn't see what happened. Maybe he didn't start the game. I know Ty Johnson, former Lion, played, and they really couldn't. They couldn't. They had to match the intensity. And James Cook, you can noticeably tell he wasn't out there. And Josh Allen went back to old Josh Allen, where he got to make all the plays, and eventually he loosened that defense up and was able to get some guys open. So, um, just for now, I just wanted to reference that, just to how good St. Brown is, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just like he little in stature, but dude, St. Brown make it happen. He make it. He's bread and butter. Golf, no, and I think Tim Patrick's falling into that. Jameson Williams, another game. Walt, I forgot to reference him. 5 catches, 80 yards for Jameson Williams. Another couple games where he caught some tough balls over the middle. Caught one, a guy was draped all over him. You know what I'm saying? He's becoming to be remember at the beginning of this season, we we said Jameson Williams has got to take the next step, Walt, and for the most part, he has. You know what I'm saying? He has. I think he's very dependable. So they got it on all. We good on offense. You know what I'm saying? As long as knock on wood, everybody stay healthy. We good on offense, and I think that the offense, as long as we got that offense, we okay.
yeah, definitely. One thing I would say is for like the section of Lions fans that didn't really trust the process, for lack of a better phrase, because that trust the process phrase ain't going too well for like the Philadelphia 76ers or
Right.
whatnot and some other teams. But for the section of the fan base that didn't trust the process or chose to not trust the process last season, this team was moving along pretty well. They were hot middle of the season. There were a lot of fans that was coming down on Brad Holmes for not going out and trading for Chase Young, not going out and trading for Trey Hendrickson at that time. Max Crosby was also a name that was coming up last season prior to the trade deadline. Montez Sweat, who ultimately ended up getting traded to the Chicago Bears. They chose to not trust the process. Brad Holmes did things his way. We ended up in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Section of this fan base didn't want to trust the process this year before the trade deadline. Soon as Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, everybody said, hey, you know what? Whatever it costs, call the Raiders. Give it up for Max Crosby. Give it up for Myles Garrett. Give it up for Trey Hendrickson. This is why Brad Holmes has built this team. He and Dan Campbell together have built this team the way they have. It took me a minute to really grasp it. But when you have a team that's homegrown, majority of your players, 90% of your players are guys you drafted or you signed as undrafted free agents, or guys that you have some sort of relationship with, from the New Orleans Saints or the Miami Dolphins for that matter. When everybody in the building only knows one way to do things,
Yeah.
you ain't got to worry about nobody else coming into your house disrupting shit. Your house gets ran the way you choose to run it. We don't have a guy that used to play for the Raiders talking about, well, when I played for the Raiders, we did things this way or that way. Then another guy talking about, when I played 10 years for the Patriots, we won and we did things this way or that way. No, this locker room only knows one way to do things. That's Brad Holmes' way. That's AG's way. That's Ben Johnson's way. And that's Brad Holmes' way.
Yeah.
So it all makes sense now. And this is the key reason why you don't trade away a bunch of draft assets. What if this man would have been dumb and reckless and would have said F them picks and would have gave up a bunch of firsts? Because everybody's got a price. Quote the great philosopher Ted DiBiase. Everybody's got a price. And if you would have
Yeah,
called the
$1 million.
Raiders, and if you would have called the Raiders and said, man, listen, we want Crosby, we don't care what it costs. we'll give y'all our next 4 first-round picks. The Raiders would have did it. Trust me. Brad Holmes not idiotic like that, but the Raiders would have took it. Can you imagine if we would have gave up 4 first-round picks and we would have got Crosby over here, and then we would have suffered all those injuries, and then we would have been stuck with no picks, damn near no picks.
Right.
So I think it all makes sense. And for fans out there that still don't get it, trust this man. Trust the process. He's good. He's done nothing in 4 years since he's been here, but prove to you that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
This team is built to last. And you and I keep discussing the 2025 draft, how we view that as probably up until now, aside from year 5 is probably the most important draft of him and Dan Campbell's regime here, because now you're talking about the next 5 years. These past classes got us where we are right now, as in regards to, the Hutchinsons of the world, the Panay Sewells, the Branches. 2025 draft is going to come down to how well do we draft in regards to depth.
Right.
Are we going to be good in 2027 and 28?
Offensive line. Yeah, we
Yeah.
talk about that too, man.
Yeah.
Offensive line. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah,
No, you good.
I totally feel the same way. The draft is going to be bananas this year because I
Fun.
really do. Yeah, because I think it's going to be talent to be had out there. I think it's a deep draft, especially on the defensive end. On my side, the way I see it, you know what I'm saying. And
Safety position, the
safety
defensive tackle
position.
position is deep this year.
Yep. Offensive line. If I was a Lions, we can get more into it later on when draft season comes. But you want to. I think of it like this. As much as we love our offensive line, you know what I'm saying. Glasgow getting kind of long in the tooth. You know what I'm saying. Taylor Decker, getting nicked up. Frank Ragnow. Love those guys, man, for what they the service they brought to our team. But you got to maybe start getting some younger guys in there, which we do have with Sourcedall, Kristen Mahogany. We do have some guys in there, you know what I'm saying? But, having Skip play left tackle, we've been getting away with it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you want to be able to have Dan Skipper playing left tackle. You know what I'm saying? Nothing against Skip. You know what I'm saying? God bless him, but that's
keep throwing up, Skip.
That's on the draft. that's on the draft front. But
told that man to lay it on the line. keep throwing up, Skip. Oh, that was a classic. That was a classic.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so tremendous show tonight, Walt. So when we coming back here, or later this week, we got a couple shows before Buffalo. We got to get to the Bills here. I think they pose a different challenge, but again, I ain't worried. I never say I wouldn't doubt this team again. You know what I'm saying? I've seen what I need to see. You know what I mean? Even though Josh Allen is a totally different. Excuse me. Even though Josh Allen's a totally different animal than Jordan Love, I shouldn't say animal entity, but they beatable, totally beatable. You know what I'm saying? They don't pose a threat to me like that. So I'll end it with that.
Sure. Just want to go through a few of these comments real quick because everybody they take the time to join us. Want to get to those comments. We have 6 receivers catch 5 more passes each in NFL history record against the Packers. Big message to that. 313 and Fun says, if we make the free agent moves, we all things they will. This is the strongest roster in the league in the next 2 years. I agree 1,000%.
Correct. Absolutely.
They're gonna bring back. Think about the people who was hurt this year, who gonna be back healthy next year, plus the draft picks. Like training camp is gonna be bananas next year, competition wise for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren McQuain says, I love listening to you guys, by the way. I can't disagree with anything you both say. Because we're rational people, man.
Appreciate you.
We rational people.
Yeah.
Really appreciate
they
that.
know Lauren, everybody, Corey, what's our Trey Finesse, Bobby Drake, Ralphie. I mean, man, y'all know football, you know what I'm saying? So y'all know where the heck we coming from most of the time, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's all Rob too. It's just crazy, you know what I'm saying, how good this team is. And I think the best is yet to come. These next 4 weeks and beyond. Right now, it sure would be nice to wrap up that number one seed, man. But I don't know how quickly that's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody keeps winning, so I'm
I
gonna
mean, you're
get
gonna
that
work
number
for it.
seed. Yeah,
Um, Everybody wanted to win the division last year, and we had to work for it. Pretty much down the stretch last year. It's not gonna be difficult. I don't think Brad Holmes wants it to be difficult. I
mm.
mean, wants it to be easy,
Be easy.
for that
Yeah,
matter. You appreciate it and you learn more in a tough win than you do in an easy win, for that matter. So, this team has won so many different ways over the last 2.5 years, man. I don't. There's nothing this young team hasn't seen. They still young as hell, and that's what people don't. But they failing to realize, like, this is still a very young roster, but they seen so much because they've had early success. Like, this team was supposed to lose for 2.5 years. Remember, typically,
yeah,
starting a rebuild, like in a rebuild in Detroit. Oh, Brad Holmes was supposed to struggle for 2.5 years in this dump. That's what they thought it was going to be. And thing that man got things turned around him and Dan Campbell very, very quick. So this is a young team that's won and used to win. Like Aiden Hutchinson, he
yeah,
don't really know nothing but winning, except for the first half of his rookie season. Since the first half of his rookie season, Aiden been winning. Branch don't know
yeah,
nothing but winning. And it's gonna be hard to beat this team, man. I've been saying it long enough. If you don't play really damn good defense and run the ball, if you don't display a dedication to run the football, you're gonna catch hell beating this football team, man. Because they're not gonna beat themselves unless it's a Houston Texans
yeah,
game and you talking about a football bouncing off of Jahmyr Gibbs' elbow for an interception and other goofy stuff happening. And even in that case, we
yeah.
still showed the mental fortitude to let things run their course, and we wound up winning the game. Compete to the final few seconds, and you got it. So, all right, man. I just wanted to finish up with that. We got a very good football team on our hands, man. 12-1. We got the Buffalo Bills coming in a few days. They're gonna be upset. They got a lot that they playing for as well over in the AFC. I don't think it's anything we can't handle. Josh Allen is the best quarterback we competed against all season, so he's gonna pose threats. But I don't see anything going on with this team right now that can really derail what they got going on, other than maybe an injury to the quarterback position. Because you can make the argument we could lose a piece or two on offense, but this team is still rock solid enough that they'll still keep on moving. So, with that being said, man, we 12-1. We got the Buffalo Bills coming in. We will be back in a few days. I really wanted to start touching on the defense a little bit because I do think Ralph brought this up in the comment section earlier on, and I want to point it out. Ralph, I ain't forget about you. He wanted us to comment on the defensive acquisitions they made over the past 2 weeks and how we feel they played so far. So we can probably jump on that before we jump into Buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. Come
Probably
back
either
to
Monday or maybe Wednesday.
yeah, tomorrow or Wednesday night. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. All right, cool. That'll work. All right, man. Thanks everybody for joining us again. We appreciate everybody for sticking with us for an hour and 30 minutes. All of y'all are great. Don't forget, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. We trying to get out here and get paid too. Till next time, one pride.